Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to our penultimate round of the Tier 6 campaign in the Aero Racing Gran-Turismo 7 GT3 Championship Season 21. That's a lot of words. I don't think I'm ever going to get through it without confusing myself. But today we are visiting a very wet Autopolis for penultimate round, designated wet race. Quali, sprint, and feature with a lot of rain on the track. It's going to be a interesting one, to say the least, because the last time we had rain was at, or rain in this season was in Austria, where it caught everyone out by surprise in the last 4 laps and killed everyone. So let's hope that it doesn't happen again, or at least because people are expecting it, not everyone crashes. We'll see what happens. Chaos Druid, it will be fun to watch then, of course. And Mike Sands, hello. I'm sure we will see you die at some point. Thank you for the heads up. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Let's start off with the usual, the quali results. I had a panic attack before because I thought I forgot to change it, but no, I didn't. There we are. Becker's in P1. Beating his teammate by 0.1 seconds. I think that's the first time in a long time we haven't seen Ollie on pole. But either way, it's a Subaru 1-2. Something we've come to expect. Crilly bringing up the second row in the Alfa Romeo, and Jan still with some very fast pace in that Honda, picking up P4, but is quite a way away already from P1, considering we're only 4 positions down. JP Greenwood is next, followed by Ellis. Very close margins there. Mikey Sands in P7 and TJR in P8. Only halfway down the grid, and the gap is already 2 seconds. That just shows how much of an effect the rain is having tonight. Harshilk, I2 Point, taking up P9, and Fudo taking up P10. With Inorganic, John Orodea, Autismus, Cracavelli, Lord Hands, and Falcon bringing up the final 6 positions in that order. Not sure what happened between Cracavelli and Falcon for Lord Hands to split them with a time when neither of them had a time. If that makes sense. I don't know if what I just said makes sense, but you get what I'm saying. Lord Hans did set a time. Cracavelli ahead of him did not. I'm not sure how that happens, but sure. That is your qualifying grid. Have a bit of water before we start this, because I have a feeling I'm going to lose my voice. Shall we get into it, then? 9 laps Autopolis in the rain. Beckers and Ollie starting us on pole. Let's see how we got on, shall we? Sprint race. Oh, it would be the sprint race if my... There we go. I love it when my stream deck works. Anyway, 5 lights are out on, and they are out for the sprint race start, the grid start. That is a Honda already making a move on Ollie. Ollie's lost 2 positions off the start. Crazy work from the Alpha and the Honda there to get the positions back into turn 1. Are we going to see a big accident? We are not, but Ian from P4 is already in P1. The whole field has made it around turn 1 with no issues in the rain. We love to see it. Ian, though, leading the pack quite convincingly. An amazing start from him. 2 Subarus pink this week. Love the new livery again. Left hanging from Ian, who's made an absolutely amazing push off the line. Beckers and Ollie trying not to get in their own way while they try and chase down Ian, the one driver who consistently has been putting the pace up to try to beat them often. That's Beckers off! Beckers has gone off already, and he's facing the wrong way. That's so unfortunate for the Subaru driver who started on pole, is in P16 before 2 sectors are passed. That's so unfortunate for Beckers. Going into one of the sharpest turns, I'm going to jump forward as most of the rest of the field is making it through. Beckers has a big recovery drive ahead of him. Ian, though, building a good gap for himself, getting away from the rest of the drivers on the wet tyres. I mean, not really got much option. I don't know why I brought attention to that. You get the point anyway. For a wet race, we're seeing a significant lack of crashes, and I am loving that. I am a big fan of the lack of crashes so far. Becker's still having another issue, another big gap just developed there as they've lost the traction down into the starter turn, sector 3, sorry, my bad. Ian, though, let's jump on with it, Ian, for a minute. That is a car spun around. Hang on. That's Airtown Jenner. Let's jump on board with him. From P12. Goes around this top of the hill. Catches a bit of curb on the inside there. That is straight into the wall. Do not want to be messing with the curbs today. Gets reset to the track by the game. So that's not a terrible loss of time for Airtown Jenner, but is of course 3 positions lost just from realistically just touching a curb and nothing else. Chaos, good job you didn't watch Tier 5 Blue. Hey, you never know. I might be next season. I'll beg that we get this back so I can do it again. Becca's getting a position on Airtown Jenner now, making up the first of 15 more positions to get back into get back to that pole position where they started. A long uphill climb, and you can already see a bit of a gap forming in front of them to Crackvelli and P14. Can Becca's get it done? A bit of a dry line appearing as well. We unfortunately can't see the weather map, but we can see. Never mind. Is that dry line is going? The rain is coming down again. Falcon and Crackvelli for P13 here. Looks like a lot of sliding is happening. The drivers push themselves. Falcon goes wide there. Crackvelli on a better exit gets the position in the start of Sector 2. Good work from him as they make their way around this long left-hander. I forgot to get myself a track map today, so I don't know what the corner numbers or names are. Sorry, guys. You're just gonna have me saying, yeah, that curve, that turn, that one. Anyway, Crackvelli gets a position on Falcon there. Falcon just running a little bit wide for the tight right-hander. There you go, though. Crackvelli looks like goes a bit deep in the braking. That's Falcon spun around! No! Falcon spun around on the exit of the sharp hairpin at the start of Sector 3. Loses a couple more positions. Now is just about holding off Airtown Jenner. He looks like he's going to try and make a move to the inside, but doesn't. Just has the look to it. Falcon got his stability back a little bit, but has lost a few positions. This is going to be a lot of just sliding around as Beckers is now up to P14. Right on the back of a train. Going to hope to make a lot of positions up in the next 7 laps. Crackvelli, though, got his teammate ahead of him. And one of the fastest drivers in the tier behind him, as Ollie sets the fastest lap through 2 laps with 2 minutes and 0.7. A little bit quicker than Becca's quali time, so maybe we'll see times continuing to improve, especially as the track develops. We'll see a bit of a dry line appear maybe. Becca's goes quickest, takes that fastest lap from his teammate within 2 minutes. And he's right on the back of Crackvelli. Does he have a look to the inside as he goes down to turn 1? Can he make it work? No, backs out of it. Crackvelli cuts onto the apex and retains. That's the word, retains P13. Right behind Lord Hans, still his teammate. Looks like now we're having a few less issues. Let's jump forward a little bit, shall we? Mr. Autismus in the AMG. Loving the gun down, as always. Seeing that is a bit of a deep break and goes onto the grass there through the tight right-hander in Sector 2. Catching all of the grass there. Keeps the car stable enough that he hasn't spun yet, but has probably lost quite a bit of track position to Inorganic ahead. Inorganic now holding P9. Chasing down TGR for P8. To come now, as you enter Sector 3, this tight left-hander before the downhill. Hang on. Lord Hans, what has happened? What happened to you, Lord Hans? Going around this right-hander, catches the curb. That is not, you want to give the curb as much space as you possibly can, especially when it's wet. So unfortunate for Lord Hans, who rejoined the track in P14. Airtown Jenner about to rejoin behind him. Back on field in P15. That's so unfortunate for Lord Hans, who was running a decent race before that. Back down to where he started. Let's jump forward to the front of the field for a minute. So Ollie has taken back P1 from Ian. And now a third of the way through the race, you can really hear the rain coming down now as the rain level has got over that second bar, meaning the wet tyres will be struggling now as well. But does not seem to bother Ollie at all as he puts in a 2:01 lap. And has got a pretty big gap forming behind him to Ian, P2. Made that amazing move earlier, of course. But Ollie's found his composure and taken that position back. Damon, P3. The Alfa Romeo driver, one of the contenders in this title fight behind the Subaru team. Can the Alfa Romeos make the best of a bad situation and get some good points to keep themselves in the fight as we go into one more round tonight after this broadcast? We'll see. I've purposefully not tried to look at all the announcements and stuff, so I don't know if it's been won yet. I can't remember. JP though holding up a train of his own. I think this is only the second time since JP actually. So welcome back. Loving the Mustang. That's one car I wish Gran Turismo would add. The new Ford Mustang GT3. Ellis, does he have a look to the inside? JP squeezes him right onto the curb. Ellis, he's wheel to wheel. Can Ellis get the exit? No, he cannot. JP just keeps his lead through that starter sector 3. My God, what a battle. Does Ellis now have a look into the right-hander? He does. Does he have the grip? He does. He's using all of the curb. Gets himself in front of JP. What a move from Ellis down the hill. Has built a considerable gap already. Only a couple turns later. JP now got to close on that as Mikey Sands is now potentially having a look on the back of the Mustang. Does make a move into the right-hander. Beautiful work from him. And now it's Fudo's turn. Can Fudo make a move onto JP in the Crunchyroll Audi? I'm glad he's kept that for this week. It's a beautiful looking car. JP losing a couple of positions in that last sector, so that's unfortunate for him. Fudo trying to also profit a position off JP. 1 second, let me pull some things up. Let's go. Here we go then, as we go down for the 5th lap, start of the 5th lap. The gap's building if you look to the top right of your screen, to the mini-map. All of the gaps building now throughout the field. Seeing one of the tighter fights here as JP looks to the inside of Mikey Sands. Mike goes wide there and wide on the left-hander as well. JP having a bit of a slide through the exit. Trying to put his foot down as much as possible. Has to keep it calm and collected, but also wants to push as much as possible. This train building up now as JP's right on the rear bumper of Mikey Sands. Wanting that position back as bad as possible. TJR made it past Fudo just a moment ago. I love that livery. That's a bloody beautiful livery as well. I'm just here to appreciate liveries now. 6 cars then into this left-hander at the start of sector 3. 2 battles of 3 as Fudo on the inside of TJR. Can he get the position back? As Fudo goes wide onto the grass. Fudo gets the position back, and Beckers is going to make a position as well on TJR. So unfortunate for him, just going a little bit wide through the exit there. Lost 2 positions to the Audi and the Subaru. Now Beckers though up into P8 from P16. Great recovery drive so far. He's right on the back of Fudo. Can he make another position? Left-hander, wheel to wheel. Doesn't quite make it as we go back through the right-hander as Fudo has the inside line for that turn. How will it shake out though through this next little, I don't know if you want to call it a chicane, but the right-left. Fudo still holding that position from Beckers. Beckers going as far out as he can. Does Beckers have this pace now? He's running on the outside line. Hold up. Then we'll have the inside for the final turn. Catches a little bit of the grass. No, does not quite have the pace to outbeat Fudo. But what a battle from those two as we're entering lap 6 out of 9 now. Jumping forward a little bit though. Fudo still trying to hold off from Beckers. And JP makes a move on the outside. Does he make it? No, he does not. Oh no! Catches the grass. Does not have the ability to brake on the grass and loses so many positions to that. Loses out to Fudo, Beckers and TJR. Down into P9 from P5. Tried to make a move but did not have the space. Oh, hang on. That's a spin as well. I'm going to jump us back a little bit. That is the wrong button. We're going to jump forward a little bit. No, hang on. So what happened? Here we go. We found the pot. So he starts lap 6. Right in the wheel tracks of Mikey Sands. All of the water being spat up. He goes to the outside first. Mike then goes to the outside. JP just catches a little bit of grass. That spins him out. That allows Fudo, Beckers, and TGR, who had a normal run into the turns, to get past very easily. JP rejoins in P9. That's such an unfortunate incident for him. Really tried to make the move work, but just did not leave himself enough space. Let's jump forward a little bit, though, because that is an Alfa Romeo spinning. Mikey Sands makes a move on Ellis for P4. Has the outside line for this next right-handed turn. But takes the... Oh, that is the tap from Ellis. That's so unfortunate, but Ellis gives him the courtesy to get away. But that is Mike and Ellis both losing 3 positions to TJR, to Mikey Sands and Fudo. But to TJR, Fudo and Beckers. Mike makes a dive back on the inside of TJR to get back into position. And Ellis profits off it as well. Mike back into 6th. Fudo now 5th, though. Good move from him, but Beckers has finally got past the Audi from 16th, from 1st to 16th, back up to 4th with 3.5 laps remaining. What a drive from Beckers so far. Yeah, love the way you put. To be honest, I don't know, because is it just Mike? I don't know, because it's all one word. I just say Mikey Sands. I don't know. Mike Sands doesn't sound as nice. I don't know why. If it's Mike Sands, I'll just say Mike, but I like Mikey. I don't know. And then I can make a joke when you do a spin. I can go, Mikey, that was so not right. Anyway, well, I'll let you clarify, but I want to just make the Mikey, that was so not right meme. Alright, leave me alone. Alright, Becker's now in P4. Got a little bit of space behind him to try and extend his lead in 4th place, but has a lot of a gap as well in front to close on Damon, just to get back onto the podium positions. Of course, the lower Beckers finishes in this race, the higher he'll start in the feature race, but of course you still want the extra points, don't you? So, as he goes 203.3 on that last lap. Still holding the fastest lap with a 2-minute .1. That is a car spun around. 1 second. Falcon. It hurts. It hurts my brain. Oh, he's on the intermediates. It's just Mike, but Mikey is a bit of a nickname. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to keep saying Mikey Sands if that's alright then. Falcon has elected to go for the intermediates this race. That's something I didn't check for. Bold move, especially if it does clear up later on in the race. That could be nice, or if it was brighter early, it could have made a bit of a move, but unfortunately, if you look just next to the tyres, you can see how wet the track is, and it's over that 2nd bar, which means you really do need the wet tyres. Falcon made a gamble on the inters, and it has not paid off, unfortunately for him, so quite a ways down in P15. As we go jump all forwards to Autismus in P14, you see just how big of a gap there is between the 2 drivers at the bottom. Airtown Jenner in P13, Lord Hands in P12. Got a couple of positions back after that spin earlier, but still probably not where he'd want to be. Did start in P15 though, so it's an improvement. Catches a bit of grass there. I don't think he's learned, has he? Not to touch the grass or the curb there. Inorganic in P11 with a big gap in front and behind, and then Crackavelli bringing up the rear of the big train in this race in P10. Of course, P10 where you want to be if you want to get a good start for the feature, but not where you want to be if you want a good spot, good points for the sprint. But at this point, with only 2 laps remaining, maybe he just buys his time and gets a good start for the feature. Hopes for the best. JP then in P9. Unfortunate incident for him earlier that's cost him a lot of positions and just chasing the drivers that he was battling before. He's also got on the inters. That explains a lot of the slides he's been having, but has managed it better than Falcon. Heard the start while I was away, that explains my bad start. Ah, fair enough. And here I was thinking Ian was just that good. TGR then in P8 in the Citroen. Yeah, Citroen. P7 actually, he makes position on Mike Sands. What happened to Mike Sands? 1 second. Because that lost 2 positions, so he's in P6 now. Makes a move on Fudo, just does not quite overshoots the brakes, and that gives Ellis a nice position there, albeit a little bit cheeky, keeping Mike on the curb. TGR, though, profits another position. And JP's going to have a look. Is he? No, he's not. Mike Sands drops a couple of positions, unfortunately, down to P8. TGR in P7. Ellis P6. Fudo in P5. Beck's in P4. Yellow flag. What's that yellow flag for? Hold the phone. Damon in P3. Is it Falcon? It might be Falcon. Hold up. So Beck's in P4. Yes, I believe it is going to be Falcon. It is. Unfortunate to see, but Falcon has really struggled with trying to make the intermediate tyres work on an absolutely drenched track. Then jumping forward, but Damon in third. Can see Ian, the next driver up the road, but only has a lap and a half to make a move, and that is a pretty significant gap still, especially against one of the fastest drivers in this tier. And Ollie, in a league of his own, once again, up in first. Falcon's now being blue flagged, unfortunate to see. Airtown Jenner's in a wall. What happened? So he's chasing Autismus down in P14. On the wet tyres, but having moments anyway, just oversteers in that turn. That's so unfortunate and easy to do in these conditions, but has just made it so that battle with Autismus will not be happening now, I don't believe. Autismus then in P13, still having a bit of shaking through this section in that AMG. Lord Hands in P12. Still an improvement on his starting position, but not where he'd want to be, especially considering his incident earlier. Inorganic P11. And then let's jump forward to this train, shall we? As Cracavelli is now putting some pressure on JP for that P9. 1 lap and 2 turns remaining on this race for these drivers in this final train. In this middle train, sorry, I should say. JP on the inters, Cracavelli on the wets. Cracavelli should have the tyre advantage here, but JP, if he's just cool, calm and collected, brings it home. Doesn't make it easy for Cracavelli. Could finish in that P9. It's a good point. Decent points for the Ford Mustang, who's only raced, I believe, 2 races this season so far. Mike Sands then in P8 with TGR ahead up the road in P7. Ellis catching a little bit of the grass from the exit turn 1 there in P6. Doesn't quite slow him down enough to open the door for TGR, but TGR having a look to the outside anyway. Doesn't quite have the minerals to make it work, but then has a look to the inside. Can he make it work? I don't think he does. Fudo P5. Becker's P4 with a considerable gap built behind now. Still trying to chase Damon, but that is a big gap to close with only half a lap remaining. Going to stick on this battle for a little bit. So Mikey Sands makes his way into P7. I think he made a pass there. I may be wrong. I may be being stupid. I probably am being stupid. JP and TGR and Cracavelli all jostling for that P8. Hang on, something just happened? Am I being stupid? No, it hasn't. Cracavelli then on the inside of TGR through this left hand and pushes him a little bit wide. TGR catching the curve, not where you want to be, but getting a good exit speed. Both of these drivers will be battling their way down into the right-hander at the bottom of this hill, but Cracavelli has the track position. TGR down in 10th, which means JP into 8th, Cracavelli into P9. So TGR losing a couple positions there. Unfortunately for him, I've missed the finish. Sorry, guys. Let's jump back 10 seconds because you can't ignore the man in P1 crossing the finish line to take yet another race win this season. Going to jump back again to Ian, who made a great challenge in that lap 1, jumping from P4 to P1 on the start, just losing out to P1 to what has been an absolutely dominant drive from Ollie and a dominant season for him, so you can't be too mad, but a great P2 finish from him. Damon finishing P3, Becker's almost getting it done, but finishing in P4. Fudo now, though, leading this train home. Will be finishing P5, just ahead of a very slidey Ellis coming out of that final turn. Fudo P5, Ellis P6, Mike Sands P7 with a little bit of gap. JP finishing P8, Cracavelli just beating TGR to the line for P9. That means Inorganic will be finishing 11th, the first of the 6 drivers who will not be having their finishing positions reversed. So unfortunate to see him there. Lord Hands finishing P12, up a few positions, but still not where he'd want to be. Autismus will be the next to cross the line. Quite a way away from the cars in front. Look at the gaps. That just shows how much of a spanner the how much of a spanner the rain throws into the mix as he goes for a little bit of a slip and slide through the final turn. That is Autismus picking up P13. Airtown Jenner will be our next finisher in P14. And unfortunately, a whole lap and a bit down from P1 is Falcon in the TGR Supra. I do love the livery, I have to say, but it is unfortunate to see Falcon finishing down in P15. Did start P16. That is a wall. Did he pit? He did pit. So he did go onto the wets, but unfortunately could not get him in quite in time. So we'll be finishing P15 after that sprint race. So here you go. That is qualifying results. I clicked the wrong button. Sorry. Harshilk has DNF'd. So that is who unfortunately has finished in P6 or didn't finish in P16. Falcon a lap down in P15. John Oradea a minute and 26 seconds off P1 and down there in P14. Autismus P13. Lord Hands P12, Inorganic P11, and then who will be starting the feature race on pole is TGR88 in P10. 38 seconds off P1 at just towards the tail end of that big train. Crackavelli, who he got beat by in P9, and JP Greenwood in P8. Only half a second between them by the end of the race. Mikey Sands a couple seconds up the road. And Ellis also a little bit up the road in P6. Not Fudo in P5. And then Beckers with a great recovery drive all the way from P16 to P4. Down from, of course, that P1 start. And picks up the fastest lap of the race as well. Crilly finishing P3. Jan20 or Ian finishing P2. And Ollie finishing P1, picking up yet another race of this season. Pretty good. I'm going to say it again, but I'm fairly sure you all know what's going to happen here. If you are new here, though, for the feature races in Aero League Racing, GT7, the top 10 drivers get reversed, and that sets your feature race grid from the sprint race. It's about a 40-45 minute race, I believe, to come. Rolling start. But yeah, that means TGR88 will be starting on pole, and Ollie will be starting in P10 for this race, which I'm attempting to load. Anyway, we get to watch the Peugeot, not the Citroen. I said the Citroen again earlier, didn't I? We get to watch the Peugeot leaders off the line then, as we start 23 laps of Autopolis for our very wet feature race. But JPTV, feature race was one of my top 5 all performances, but sadly it didn't end the way I wanted. Happens. Well, let's find out what happened, shall we? As we start 23 laps of Autopolis for our feature race. Please work Stream Deck. There we go. Thank you. Anyway, leading us towards the race start, towards the timeline, is TGR88, leading us in the Peugeot RCZ off the line. I just noticed there's no number sticker on that car. Interesting. Anyway, leading us down into turn 1. JP, though, already itching to make a move into turn 1. Gives a little bit of hip and shoulder to TGR. That is JP into P1 already, making the Ford Mustang work. Great move in 20 seconds of racing. Great move from him. Mike Sands holding up P3 with a Porsche and an Audi chasing him from behind. Ellis now chasing into P4 and Fudo chasing down in P5. Beckers and Ollie. Ollie's made up 3 positions. Hang on. Sorry. Ollie, what has happened? I've got to watch this again. Wait, so no, he started P9. I don't know why. That's probably a mistake. But Ollie started P9. Here we go then. Making a move into turn 1. He already on the inside of the Honda. Takes P8 easily from a sleeping Ian. Only has the Alfa Romeo to chase now. Who's battling Ollie's teammate. Goes wide. Damon goes wide. That's unfortunate. So Damon off the track, and that means Ollie picks up another 3 position, so do a few drivers behind. That's really unfortunate. Damon then rejoining at the back of the grid. That's so unfortunate for Damon, who started in a relatively decent position, is now quite a way away, but still got 22.5 laps left to go. That is a car spun. That is a car spun and another car in the dirt. What has happened here? So Lord Hans starting in P10, or is in P10 right now, gets a rear end from Mortismus, who sends him off the track and into a wall. That's so unfortunate, but just struggling to brake and spun. Unfortunate to see for the Ferrari and the AMG. Good on Autismus though for waiting. Hats off. Quali bans for Cracker and Falcon. Is that tonight? Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Hans. Appreciate it. So that's why they were down there. Airtown Jenner missing the braking zone into that left-hander. Goes down into P14, loses position there. That's unfortunate for him. Damon back up to P13 from going off track earlier. Crackavelli up to P12. It's in P12, sorry. After the sprint race. Dropped a few positions. Quite a few positions, actually, it looks like. Falcon's up into P11. Good work from him so far on the intermediate tyres. I don't know if he's learned from last race, because it looks like it's needing heavy wets in some areas. HK back in the field and is up into P10 currently. Good drive from him. Inorganic on P9. Ian in P8 chasing down the 2 Subarus. This Honda driver has been putting the pressure on the 2 Subarus all season long. And he's right in the spray of Ollie, who's right behind his teammate. Both of these Subarus hoping to add yet another couple wins to their collection for this season, as it looks to make a dive on Fudo, but doesn't quite go for it. Fudo keeping that P5 position. The Audi's also another pretty fast team, putting some pressure on the Subarus at times. Ellis though in P4, Mike Sands in P3, having a little bit of a twitch there through the start of sector 2. TGR holding up in P2 after a P1 start, but JP, the man who made an absolutely beautiful dive in lap 1, still holding it up there at the front, having a few little twitches through these turns, as the water is not helping his traction at all. TGR88 though now getting feeling a little bit of pressure from Mike Sands. Let's jump on board with these two as Mike wants to get himself into P2. Can he make a move? No, he does not quite make a move into this left-hander. TGR really almost parking it on that apex there. Big train beginning to form now though, as TGR Mike Ellis backing up some very fast drivers here. Ellis goes a little bit wide there it looks like, but keeps it in control. Mike Sands now having a little bit of a gap being built behind him, but still trying to keep himself right on the wheel tracks of TGR. Losing a little bit of space though either way. TGR getting a little bit more pace through this third sector than Mike can keep up with. Jump back a little bit though. Ellis right in the wheel tracks of Mike Sands. Can he make a move happen as Mike cuts a little bit there, catching the grass on his inside tyres. It's definitely going to unsettle the car a little bit. Becker's making a move on the Audi, and his teammate is right there to try and pick up another position. Does he? No, he doesn't. Becker's into P5. Fudo splitting the 2 Subarus. See how long that lasts. As Ollie now goes and takes another position from Fudo, losing 2 positions to both Subarus there. And Ian maybe looking to claim a 3rd position off Fudo. Can he make it work on the inside of turn 1? No, he doesn't. Fudo keeps himself in wheel to wheel with Ollie. Goes wide at the same time, does not quite keep the pace through that exit turn 1. Ollie retains P6. Fudo still down in P7, but keeping Ian at bay in P8. Is Ian? No, he doesn't. He makes a move. That's a yellow flag. Not sure what happened there. That is a Alfa Romeo off in the same spot as before. Ian looked to make a move, but does not quite make it work. Let's jump back a little. Let's jump forward a little bit. I believe it may have been Mikey Sands. Was that a tap? So, hold up. Let's get on board, shall we? Is this what you warned me about? Here we go then. So, still chasing TGR for P2 as we go down into lap 3. This is where what he said. So, in the braking zone. Gets bumped by Ellis. who completely demolishes him off the track. Ellis at least waiting, which is good to see. But Mike losing another position to Inorganic, and rejoins back with his teammate. Yeah, that's really unfortunate to see. Annoying for Ellis, I'm sure, who definitely wouldn't have wanted to put Mike in such a position, going from P3 all the way to P9, about to lose the position to his teammate, it seems. I mean, there's worse people to lose the position to, but Mike will not want to be there after the battle he was putting on before. Ellis at least respects the fact that it was his fault, puts himself down into P11 behind Mikey Sands. Falcon though, hold up. Falcon putting a little bit of battle to the Ferraris there, up into P12. Good work from him. So going to this left-hander, keeping it beautifully controlled, but Krakavelli having a little look on the inside there. Does not quite get a move made. That is another car in a wall. Inorganic then. The Citroen's not having a great time with turns in Japan, as he just puts the gas on a little bit too much at the exit of that sharp left-hander. Puts himself into a wall. That's unfortunate to see for him. Jumping forward then, Krakavelli and Falcon. A little bit of a twitch there from Falcon, potentially opening the door for Krakavelli as we go through Sector 3 here. Krakavelli is not using the road anymore. Fair enough. Bro equipped dirt tyres midway through the lap. Fair enough. If it works. Oh, that's the wrong button. I'm clueless right now. Leave me alone. Ellis then holding up P10 at the minute, trying to get back past Mikey Sands. Of course, had the incident earlier, would not want to cause another one. But still does not want to be beaten at the same time. I'm sure he'll be looking for ways to get past. Maybe a bit cautious now though, not to cause another incident. Mikey Sands down in P9 from P3 earlier. Really unfortunate incident for him. Bit of a passenger in that, to be honest. Not much he could have done. Damon in P8 leading his teammate, trying to chase down the Audi driver of HK in P7, who I'm going to assume would have started P16. So has had an absolutely brilliant drive 3.5 laps into this race so far. Great drive from the... That's a German, no, it's Indian, right? I don't know. Great drive from the Crunchyroll Audi, either way. Love that driver. He's chasing down his teammate for P6. Ian, though, in the Honda, found some room now as he's lost a bit of pace to Ollie and Becker's two Subarus in front of him, but still keeping good pace from the Audis behind him, so he's got a little bit of clean air to work with, work on his own race. But Ollie, though, chasing down his teammate, two pink Subarus, in 4th and 3rd, as Beckers doesn't slide. Can he does save it, loses control, loses the position, but fortunately does not put himself in a position to lose any more than that. So that now means Ollie is back in front of his teammate in P3, still chasing down TGR. That's got to be a menacing sight for the Peugeot driver. If you look in your mirrors and you see those two drivers chasing you down this hill. Having a little bit of snap of oversteer, not quite using all the track, being cautious there, but will be losing a little bit of speed to that. Jumping forward though, JP still also twitching on those wet tyres, but he did say this is one of his best performances from that dive in lap 1. Still holding P1 in a Mustang that apparently isn't super powerful compared to a lot of cars right now. Fair enough, I don't know, I could be wrong with that, but I remember him telling me, I think for Nürburgring, that it's at least eats tyres a lot. Oh, it is lovely outside. Just had a look out my window and the sun is shining. Most abnormal day in London. Anyway, TGR with Ollie on his bumper. Will Ollie make a move into turn 1 as we start lap 5? Ollie having a look onto the outside, does get the position, but is he able to keep it through turn 1? He gets his whole car ahead, around the corner. TGR losing a position to Ollie, making a beautiful lunge down the straight and keeping it into turn 1. Great move from him. Now it's Becker's turn to try and get a position on TGR, but Ian has found his way back into the wheel tracks of the Subarus. Let's jump with them, shall we? As Becker's now in P4, in the spray of TGR in P3, with Ian right in tow in P5. Top 5 drivers with a big gap behind them to the next set of drivers in P6 and down. But it's JP who's really putting a dominant drive on right now in P1, building a big gap in that Mustang. As Ollie goes a little bit wide there. So does TGR. Beckers and Ian keeping it a bit better on track. Maybe picking up a little bit of pace there as well. As Ian looks to make a dive. No, he does not go for it. Had a little look to the inside, but backed out. Beckers holding P4. Why is my headphones being like this? Sorry, I'm commentating my tech issues. I should be commentating the race. Anyway, let's jump back a little bit as Fudo's leading the next straight in 6th. There's got a bit of a gap behind him. Having a little bit of a slide there through that right-handed turn. But Damon, HK, and Mikey Sands, the two Alphas versus the one Audi, trying to get this 7th. All right, Damon's in 7th position. Built a little bit of a gap now. HK's in P8, holding Mikey Sands in P9, and Ellis is lost a little bit of pace in the cars, now in P10. Cracavelli in P11, trying to keep up with the train in front of him. Let's jump to Lord Hans in P12, 2 Ferraris in 11th, 12th right now. Inorganic picking up a position on Falcon. Looks like Falcon may have been having an issue just there, and has lost quite a few positions. Unfortunate C, he's on the intermediates again. Looks like the track may be a little bit too wet for those, but if he's careful, could make it work. We'll see what happens. Airtown Jenner in P15. And Altismus quite a way away currently in P16. Let's jump back with JP though, who is currently still P1. Good work from him. Let's just follow him for a lap, shall we? As one driver is already in the pits. Sorry, who is this? Is Ellis already in the pits on the wet tyres? Not quite sure why. Anyway, JP. P1 by quite a bit. Let's just appreciate some driving, shall we, for a minute? Having a nice little drift trial through these beautiful sculpted turns. Into the left-hander now. Start the downhill and sector 3. Ollie giving chase, closing the gap ever so slightly on JP in front. Becker's now in P3. Chasing his teammate as Ian is left to try and chase both Subarus once again. TJR down into P5 now. P1 start, of course, but with that many fast drivers behind him, it's kind of expected. Fudo, P6, still holding that Audi very well, but Damon closing the gap as well now. The Alfa Romeo is another very strong team so far this season. HK and P8, similar story. It's the Audis leading the Alphas in their own little battles. German versus Italian, or in this case, Indian versus Dutch, and the two British going at it. Cracavelli still holding P10 from his teammate in P11. Wait, that is... No, it was inorganic, no? It was Ellis who's lost a few positions. Ellis may have had an incident earlier that has lost a few positions, which has put Cracavelli up into P10, Lord Hans into P11, Inorganic into P12, puts Ellis right with his teammate in P13 and P14, and Falcon down to P15. Autism is still down in P16. Let's jump. Looks like potentially a battle emerging. No, probably not. Jump with these two. Let's stick on board with these two, shall we, for a little bit? Fudo and Damon. As Fudo, that's perfect time to be watching Fudo. Or he wouldn't agree with me, but it's something happening either way. Goes a little bit too wide into turn 1. Catches the grass, puts his car sideways a little bit, rejoins with no major issues, but just that loss of pace. Puts Damon just in front. Now it is Audi's turn to chase down the Alfa Romeo, at least in this battle. Right behind, the order remains the same, with HK leading from Mikey Sands. But Fudo trying to get that position back almost immediately on the inside of Damon on that right-hander. Has a little bit of oversteer on that exit, but Fudo's back in front already. Damon now back in the chase, only a few turns after getting that position. Fudo proving to be an absolutely great driver right now. HK also catching a bit of dirt there on the outside of that left-hander. It's now Audi Alpha still. Looks like the gaps are building though, so a bit of pace will have to be put down by the Alfa Romeo to try and catch up. But it looks like a beautiful battle emerging between these four drivers for P6. Or P6 is leading anyway. believe, I could be wrong, but the gaps between the Alpha and the Audi at the end of last race was only 2 points. So hopefully, I mean, this is going to be a pretty interesting battle to watch regardless throughout the rest of the season. See who emerges at least in P2 between these two teams. Damon looks to make a move on the inside, goes past Fudo across the timing line, start P8. Damon back up into P6. Does Fudo have the capability to defend it in turn 1? No, he doesn't. I don't think he does. Damon catches the grass on the curb on the inside, loses a little bit of pace to that. Fudo almost pushes him, but just gets on the brakes enough to stop an incident from occurring. Damon, though, holding off Fudo. Fudo getting a little bit of extra pace down into this right-handed out. Start of sector 2. Damon holding in front. Fudo, though, this is where Fudo got Damon for. Fudo has a little bit of a tap on Damon's rear bumper. Damon goes wide because of it. Fudo just holding off, though, keeping a bit of respect there. Damon does keep the position from Fudo. HK having his own battle with Mikey Sands. Let's jump back to them, actually. As Fudo now has fully lost position to Mikey Sands. We'll have to regain it a bit later on. But HK almost getting his own treatment from the Alpha, being pushed a little bit there. Just retains, though. As Mikey Sands looks to make his own pass here on the outside of the left, the long left, tight left-handed hairpin down the hill now. Has a little bit of oversteer through the exit, so loses a bit of pace there. HK retains P8. Oh my god, this battle between the Alphas and the Audis is beautiful. Looking at the map, though, it looks like we may have a little battle towards the rear of the grid, but that top five drivers of... Oh, wait, hang on. Ollie's made it past JP. Sorry, I've completely missed that. Mikey Sands having another look on the inside of HK, but does not quite make the move work. Damon now really building on Fudo, trying to make that Alfa Romeo work. One of the stronger cars to choose from in the whole game, so pretty making it work as good as he can. Becker's into P3, leading Ian. JP's down into P2 now, unfortunately losing position to Ollie, who is back up to P1. Picks up his the fastest sector 1 of the race so far by half a second. Could we potentially be seeing Ollie putting in a fastest lap? See what happens. JP, though, already putting a very good effort in so far this race. Made his way up to P1 instantly. Can he hold it? See what happens for him. Can he retain? Sorry, can he hold it? Can he get it back before the race is over? Got 13 and a half laps. 14 and a half, I don't know, something. Around that many laps remaining in this race. Ollie now leading from JP, from Beckers, from Ian, from TJR in that top 5 battle. But it is the Alphas and the Audis we have been spending so much time watching. As Damon still leading Fudo. The gap is about the same, though, so maybe Fudo just biding his time. Sorry. 1,000,001 things have come up. Oh, Lord. Anyway, HK still leading from Wait, hang on a second. Sorry, I've not been paying attention. I want to have a look at this. So, HK and Mikey Sands. We've been watching this battle for a while. Crackvelli getting himself front row seats to this battle now, though. The gap in front of HK and Mikey Sands has built significantly, so I'm going to assume maybe some incident involving both of them that's brought them back, but HK still retaining that P8. Crackvelli, though, making a move on the inside of Mikey Sands, who went wide there. Lost quite a bit of track position there to the Ferrari driver of Crackvelli. So that is a different Italian team now to put pressure on the Audi driver. That's something I wasn't expecting to see. So, the Alphas and the Audis. Yes, the battle is still heating up in front, but it's now the Ferrari on the Audi for this P8 position. Mikey Sands trailing the Ferrari down in P10. but still got a decent gap on Lord Hans, the second Ferrari, who is trying to make as much position as possible, who started himself down in P12, has picked up a position this race so far. Inorganic, still down in P12 though. So unfortunate for him. No, it's not. He started P11, so the rain took its toll at one point. Airtown Jenner got a big gap to close in front, and Autismus now chasing Airtown Jenner. Ellis, who was really up in the front of the field earlier battling, is down in P15 by quite a way. That's really unfortunate to see for him. And Falcon down in P16. Those inters will not be doing him any good right now. Ollie, P1, still leading from a gaggle of cars. JP going a little bit wide there. Becker's gaining position just to JP's lack of speed. Unfortunate to see, but Becker's will be retaining that position through the start of Sector 2, this right-hander here. JP needs to recompose himself and try and get positions back. Of course, started P2. Started P2, I believe. Started P2 in the feature race, got himself into P1 instantly. Can he retain it? A little bit of oversteer there. Still, every time he oversteers, he loses a little bit of time. He needs to keep all four wheels moving in the same direction as much as possible. Ian now going to try and threaten JP for P3. Of course, the Hondas and the Subarus, we have played these games before. The Hondas and the Subarus we tend to see right at the front of the field. The Ford Mustang, not one that has my controller dropping. Oh my god. Sorry guys, I dropped my controller. Sorry, what was I saying? Yes, the Honda and the Subarus. We've seen these guys at the front of the field plenty of times this season. The Ford Mustang is not one that we've seen battling for these front positions. So will we see Ian getting past JP, or will JP show us that he's got pace? Of course, a reserve driver for much of this season. I think we've only seen him race once, so we don't quite know his pace relative to the rest of the drivers on every track. But so far it's showing that he's got pretty good pace, at least at Autopolis, maybe just a wet weather thing. TGR now losing a bit of pace as he takes a little bit of a dirt line now. It's unfortunate to see TGR now in 5th, losing a little bit of pace to the train in front that he was a part of earlier. Damon really building that gap from Fudo now, and Crackavelli making his way past the other Audi and Alpha battle, so putting HK and Mikey Sands next to each other once again for another battle. Crackavelli up into P8. Great drive from the Ferrari drivers so far, who I believe would have started... Oh, wait, no. Finished P9, so he would have started quite high, no? I'm maybe being stupid. Anyway. Harshilk, I2 point in P9. Ah, it's massive oversteer there through the long right-hander at the end of the lap. Still retaining just enough speed to keep Mikey Sands behind. Does Mikey, though, have the minerals to go for a late lunge in turn 1 as he has a look to the inside? Does he go for it? No, he doesn't. As HK keeps the position. Does he go a bit wide? Maybe a bit wide. Catches the grass on the exit. HK, though, keeping that position just about from Mikey Sands. Both drivers having a few little wobbles in the last 30 seconds or so, making it hard for both of them to just get that position or retain that position in HK's case. And it's now Lord Hans, the second Ferrari, trying to make a move on this battle. Currently got front row tickets, but wants to get, I don't know, backstage pass. Would that work? I guess kind of. No, he just wants to get past security. He wants to get past these two and up into the top 10. But at the same time, this battle between the Audis and the Alphas is not going to end anytime soon. So Hans really needs to pick his moment well, get past both of them. Never mind. As he catches the inside, once again, the same spot, the same story, just not quite as bad. Catches the inside of the grass and then just goes wide there. Can he? No, he doesn't. Keep it controlled. So unfortunate to see for Hans, who has just had too many issues where he pushed the limit just that little bit too much and has lost traction. Now losing a position to Inorganic, who will pick up P11. Mikey Sands then still chasing Harshill for P10. We're going to stick on board this battle for a minute because it seems like these two are the only two giving us a show there today. That is a car on the start finish straight going very slow. I can only assume that it is Falcon getting the laps, unfortunately due to his choice of intermediate tyres. HK though still leading from Mikey Sands as we go round the last turn again where he had that wobble. He had another wobble again this lap. Not quite as severe, keeping Mikey Sands a better distance away this time though. In the Crunchyroll Audi, love it. I love looking at the liveries, man. Honestly, I want to commentate every tier just to look at all the liveries. It's beautiful. HK catching a little bit of the outside once again through turn 1, absolutely pushing the limit are so many of these drivers. Unfortunately, it's not working in favour for a few of them. With the wet weather, you do not want to be pushing these curves as much as some of these drivers are. The painted curbs are just so slippery. Keeping themselves safe is a lot more important than beating the rest of the drivers out on track, especially with the amount of crashes, the amount of spins we've seen so far today. Just getting yourself across the line with no incidents is almost as fast as trying to beat these drivers, having these races. But you know what? Loving the showmanship either way as HK picks up his fastest time so far through 2 sectors by almost 0.3 seconds. Can he retain it and put in his personal fastest by the end of this lap? We'll see what happens. Dropping forward a little bit to Krakovelli, who's now in P8, potentially about to pressure Fudo for P7 as he's lost a significant amount of time to Damon now in P6. Jump back on board with these guys for a minute, but Damon about to lap Falcon. That's really unfortunate for Falcon, who's lost so much track time only halfway through the race and is already a lap down to 6 drivers. Fudo though still being a little bit pressured from Krakovelli. Krakovelli's still got a good amount of distance to make up on Fudo in front of him. That looks like a battle is unfolding behind. Hang on, hold up. Ellis and Autismus for P13 down in Sector 3. Ellis right in the wheel tracks of the AMG. The 2 German manufacturers going for it. Autismus going a little bit wide there, parking himself on the apex. Good defensive maneuver there, but I'm not sure Ellis will be too happy as he goes wide there. And he almost spins it, manages to keep it safe. But the door keeps opening for Ellis, but Autismus always closes it again just as quickly as he opens it. Ellis having a look to the inside now, gets the position. Can he hold on to it? As he goes through the final left-hander, Ellis making the position on Autismus, who has a big slide through the final turn. Good battle there from Ellis, keeping himself composed for a very defensive AMG there. Jumping back to Airtown Jenner, who has a lot of space to make up on his teammate in front, who's just, of course, we've just been on board with. And Falcon still being blue flagged, unfortunately. A lap down on those intermediates, not suiting him very well. Ollie then, in P1 by quite a way. Although the gap is closing. It's only his teammate behind him, so it doesn't need to stress too much. And JP now in P3. The Mustang driver doing a good job before getting himself into P1 and keeping himself ahead by for quite a while, but eventually the Subarus have something in common with Thanos. They are inevitable. Ian losing a big gap to JP, of course. He was pressuring earlier on, but now is down in P4. With TGR closing a little bit now, trying to get a bit of track position back on drivers that have overtaken him. Of course, TGR starting in P1 after finishing P10 in the sprint, so is down 4 positions currently. Not where he'd want to be right now, but still keeping pace and keeping up, not losing too many more as he goes fastest on track through Sector 1. Not bad work from him. As Damon now though, P6, picks up the fastest lap through on his previous lap and also goes fastest through Sector 1. Looks like the track is drying ever so slightly. You can see a dry line beginning to form. The rain is stopping, at least for now. This may be the time for all of the fast drivers to put their foot down as hard as possible, get that fastest lap point in if they can. I'm going to assume the rain is going to come down again. So hopefully, for any drivers wanting to get that fastest lap, they figure it out now and they put their foot down as hard as possible. But for those on the wet tyres, staying on the dry line the whole time, they are going to be running out of rubber on those tyres. As Damon also again goes fastest so far through 2 sectors. Ellis though with a 2:01.0, fastest lap currently, down in quite low in the standings, or quite low on track right now, but still putting in the fastest lap. Just goes to show how much the track is dry. Regardless of where you are, you can still put in fast laps compared to some really fast drivers in this race. Crackvelli then in P7 found himself a bit of open air as he's got past Fudo a couple, I'm going to assume, a lap or so ago. Down in P8, Fudo having another off there at the bottom of the hill in sector 3. Going to have lost a little bit of track time to Crackvelli. I'm sure he wants to be catching up to Crackvelli right now, but does not quite have the control of his car or the pace to do it right now. HK's teammate, the next car down the road, no longer being pressured by an Alfa Romeo or a Ferrari, as Inorganic is the next car behind HK in the Citroen, and Mikey Sands now in the Alfa Romeo trying to get himself back past Inorganic, but Lord Hans is behind Mikey Sands. We've seen the Ferraris and the Alfas already having a little bit of squabbles. We'll see if Lord Hans can make up another position. He's currently driving still where he started, down in P12. Ellis in P13. Damon picks up a 1:58.6 on his previous lap. Good drive from him. Sub 2-minute lap. Good work. We'll see if anyone else can beat that, as the track is still looking relatively dry. Autismus going quite wide through a few of these turns, so probably not going to pick up a fast lap here. Airtown Jenner also in P15. Trying to keep good control of the car. He's on the wet tyre, does not want to be overcooking them too much on this dry line. Goes very wide there through the left-hander. Compromises his entry into the right-hander there. That's unfortunate to see. That's a little bit of a squirrely moment there. And Falcon still down in P16. The Inter should be coming into their own a little bit now that we've got a bit of a dry line forming. But of course he's so far down already. Does it really matter? Ollie then, building a little bit of a gap to his teammate in P2. JP still chasing Beckers for P3. Or in P3, apologies. JP does seem to have pretty good pace to keep up with the standard in this tier. I say the standard, Ollie and Beckers, with how they've been performing, I think they're exceeding the standard even by quite a way. But JP managing to keep up with both those drivers, electing to go onto the wet section of the track still, keeping his tyres in a manageable temperature, especially on those wets. You get them drive for too long, they are going to disintegrate. So good tyre management from JP there. Just makes his way down into turn 1, keeping good gap to Beckers in front of him. But still, the Mustang compared to the Subaru so far this season has not been up to standard. Of course, we don't know really what the Mustang can do, but he really needs to keep his foot down. Ian, the gap is only building in front of him, but the gap is still building behind him now. TGR, who looked like he could have been threatening a couple laps ago, is now lost position again and is almost under threat by Damon in P6, trying to crack his way into the top 5. That top 5 has been so tight-knitted most of this race. But Damon hoping to crack into that position, into that top 5, get himself past TGR, and he will have done it. The gap then behind that is to Crackvelli. Quite large is the gap between the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo for P6 and P7. But Crackvelli keeping himself cool, calm and collected as he's making his way through the end of Sector 2 now. An area where his teammate has unfortunately had a few offs already this session, but he's keeping himself composed as he's making his way around his left-hander. On the wet tyres, rain beginning to fall once again. That dry line will become wet again. We'll see how the tyres have been degrading on each of the cars. Especially who's looked after them while you've had about a lap and a half of some dry line running. See who has managed to make their tyres last just a little bit extra. It's Fudo in P8. Now got a big gap in front and behind once again as HK's teammate is now in P9. Both drivers making their way through Sector 3. No more pressure from the Alphas, but one of them is in front and one of them is behind. So we'll see what the points difference is after this race if it was to finish now. Lord Hans though in P10, up a couple positions now, has got past Inorganic. Mikey Sands though, still wanting to get past both drivers in front, having a little bit of a moment there. So losing a bit of pace. We've seen that a few times. People going a bit too narrow on that left-hander towards the end of the race, catching a bit of the grass. I'm going to assume that's not helping their pace at all. So going to have lost a bit of a gap there. Ellis still down in P13, Autism is down in P14, Airtown Jenner in P15, and Falcon once again in a wall. Ellis and Falcon giving us a little bit of a ballerina show in Sector 3, down towards the bottom of the grid. Nice. Ollie in P1 then. Let's stick on board with him for a while, as he is miles ahead of the field. See that? It looks like he's chasing down another car that's about to receive a blue flag. I'm going to assume that is that's P14, I want to say, or P15. I'm sure we'll find out when Ollie passes, but Becker's now still trying to catch up to his teammate. Thanks for police. Hear sirens out my window, lovely. Becker's still, oh my god, big slide from JP there in the Mustang. Keeping himself under good control though, he's still in P3. Having a great drive from the Englishman right now in that Ford Mustang. Lovely looking Ford Mustang, I must say. But Ian now trying to make good work in the wet conditions, closing the gap to JP, hopefully getting himself back onto that podium position. Damon has cracked the P5 position. Got his indicator on, fair enough. Don't know why. Indicating that he's turning right in about 500 metres time, fair enough. TGR though, trying to close the position on Damon, does not quite have the pace to do it, to get anything done towards turn 1. A little bit of a shake on the braking, it looks like that. Damon though has cracked the top 5. TGR still has the target there to close the gap, but will only open. Damon has shown to have some great pace today. Crackavelli in P7. HK's gone into the pits, which has allowed Fudo to go into P8. I'm going to assume they were similar anyway. So that has put Lord Hans into P9, Inorganic into P10. Mikey Sands will now be passing him to say P11. I believe that's going to be all the passes done as HK switches onto new tyres. We'll find out what they are in a second. Ellis, though, so far back that he will not gain a position from this pit stop. HK is still on wet tyres, has changed to new ones though, so fair enough. Autismus in P14 being shown a blue flag. Airtown Jenner in P15, Falcon in P16. Ollie, though, chasing down Autismus to get another car lapped in this race. That'll be 3 cars lapped, that's kind of crazy. Becker's still in P2, chasing down his teammate. Gap is only growing, and JP's still trying to chase. We're going to jump on board with JP for a little bit, why not? Because JP has had a great showing so far tonight, up in P3 after 18 laps. Good work from the Mustang driver, who unfortunately is only a reserve driver this season, so we haven't seen much of him. Would be nice to have seen him more, potentially put a good fight to Beckers and Ollie. But we'll never know. Maybe we'll see him again in Abu Dhabi. Who knows? That is a car off in turn 1. And it looks like Falcon. That looks like a Toyota Supra. It's a Supra. That's unfortunate. As JP goes wide in turn 1. Keeps himself controlled, but unfortunately will have lost quite a bit of speed there. So the gap to him and Beckers is only growing. That means the gap between him and Ian will only shorten now. Hopefully, I believe. I'm not saying, why am I saying hopefully? I'm rooting for JP, man. I want to see him do well. I'd like to see him finish high, especially considering he's rarely raced with us so far. Damon's in P5, still indicating. I don't know why, because he's turning left right now. TGR is right on his bumper though. TGR trying to get a position back, catches a little bit of curve on the inside there. Damon though retaining P5 and doing a decent job there while he's at it. TGR having a little bit of slide there through that right-hander. Crackavelli still trying to close the gap ahead. But right now with 4.5 laps remaining, can just comfortably drive himself to the finish and have no more issues. Lord Hans, his teammate, up into P8. That's good work, good driving from the Ferraris today, I have to say. Both improving quite significantly on their finishing positions. Inorganic in P9, Fudo down in P10 after... Oh no, he wasn't the one to pit stop, HK was. So Fudo down in P10, HK in P11, which puts Mikey Sands in P12 with a 3-second penalty. I'm going to assume that's got to be pit line cutting, surely. But it doesn't look like he's pitted. Or maybe he has got fuel, I don't know. He just did fuel and no tyres, I don't know. Either way, Mikey Sands with a 3-second penalty. That's unfortunate to see. It does mean, though, I can't remember what the scoring factors are, but I do believe Alfa Romeo will pick up a significant amount more points than Audi will if the race was to finish right now. So that will probably put Alfa Romeo back in front of Audi if they weren't already, by quite a significant margin. That will leave an uphill battle for Fudo and HK to close tonight in Abu Dhabi. We'll see what happens next week or at some point this week when I commentate it. But Mikey Sands about to serve his penalty as he rounds this left-hander, start of sector 3, down the hill. To be fair, there are worse places to serve a penalty. Here we go then. 3 seconds of deceleration, puts himself down to 55 miles an hour, and then he goes again. Doesn't look like he lost too much, to be fair. Ellis then in P13. Autismus in P14 being chased by Air Tangena. Potentially a move to happen here. We'll check back with them in a minute. And Falcon's still down in P16, sorry. Ollie, P1. Becker's P2. JP, P3. The gap is building between these top 3 now, but Ian also, the gap is building between him and JP as we're rounding halfway through lap 20, 23. TJR and P5. Trying to chase down Ian. Potentially could get it done. We'll see. We'll see what happens. As he's got himself back past Damon, but goes wide there. Autismus also going wide, but he's not in the battle, so it doesn't matter. So TGR in P5. Damon in P6. Look like he came quite hot into that turn. Catching a little bit of the inside curve there. But TGR still just having enough pace to keep himself in front. Damon then P6. Crackvelli P7. Got a blue flag car in front of him, it seems. I'm going to assume that's Autismus. Yes, it is. Lord Hans, similar story, P8. But no blue flag car in front of him. Got a lot of space to grow. Inorganic, though, closing the distance behind him. The Citroens and the Ferraris. We've seen a few battles between these two, actually. Let's jump on board with Inorganic for a bit. I feel like we've not given him much screen time today. Down in P9, I have to say, though, that Citroen pretty beautiful. Love it. Good job. Inorganic then, P9. Going quite wide there through that left-hander. Compromises his right-hander a little bit. So would have lost a little bit of gap to Lord Hans there. Overtaking is prohibited. Yellow flag. Who is that? Jump back as Falcon once again. Unfortunate to see. It would be nice if you could shift cameras based on track position instead of ranking, but oh well. Mike Sands then down in P12, still behind both Audi drivers in front of him, but HK's gone wide, rejoins the track with no major issues there. But has probably lost quite a significant amount of time to Mike Sands behind him. Fudo, still in P10, does not have Inorganic in his sights, so with only 2 and a bit laps remaining, be struggling to catch up and get any more positions. As Lord Hans is still under threat from Inorganic, but not by quite as much as before. A few seconds gap building between them, but Lord Hans has to be safe and bring it home. He's made a few mistakes already this evening, especially on this right-hander coming up after the left. Just keep it mistake-free and he could be finishing with a pretty good finishing position of P8. Crackvelli, his teammate, further up the road in P7, doing a very fine job indeed. Damon in P6. The leading Alfa Romeo right now, the points hauler for this round. TGR 88 back up to 5th. Still holding Damon off. Ian in P4. JP in P3 by quite a long way. Even if JP does have an issue, like a spin or something, he should be able to get himself back on the road and running without losing too much space to Ian. But that is a... Wait, hang on. Fuel. JP will have to pit. I don't believe he can extend that fuel for 2 more laps. That is a lot. That is not a lot of fuel remaining unless he really nurses it back home. Ian, similar story, but has just a little bit more fuel. Maybe he could extend, but I don't believe JP will be able to. Having a look at Becker's, similar story to Ian, and Ollie, similar story to his teammate. I don't know if either of them, any of them have pitted yet. I think they've really tried to extend it. Damon in P5, similar story to JP in P3. That's going to be really unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver. Probably going to lose a position or 2 now if he does decide to pit. Crackervelli's up to P6. TGR's lost 2 positions. He's pitted. That explains it. So he probably felt the threat of low fuel and has pitted. I'm going to assume that a lot of the other drivers that we've just looked at will follow suit as TGR goes wide there through the exit of that left-hander. Lord Hands with enough fuel to get himself to the end. Crackervelli with enough fuel to get himself to the end. Damon will not... I don't think he'll make it to the end of this lap. We're going to stick on board with Damon then as he goes wide there through the left-hander. That is Crackervelli picking up P5. Free position for the Ferrari drivers. The Alfa Romeo just goes wide. I don't know if Damon has enough fuel to get himself to the pits. And if he doesn't, oh my god, what a disaster for the Alfa Romeo driver who has been battling so well with so many different drivers and teams today. Can he get himself back to the pit and just top himself up for 1 more lap's worth of fuel? The gap between him and TGR is quite big. Could potentially get himself to the pits and keep himself in front. JP now pitting. Ian will pick up that P3 from JP as he starts the final lap. Crackervelli looks like he may also pick up that P4. Potentially. Nope, JP is out of the pits comfortably. So JP exiting in P4. Hopefully, though, he can keep himself on track as Crackervelli begins the final lap. Damon nursing himself back into the pits. No fuel remaining. What the hell was Damon thinking? TGR then rounds the final corner in P7 to start his final lap. Pitted a lap or so ago. That is Autismus sideways. Interesting. Damon is just going to exit. Damon got a 3-second penalty. No, that's unfortunate for him. It's JP. JP also got a 3-second penalty. No. So that is Ian in P3 with very minimal fuel left. Same with Beckers. Same with Ollie in P2 and P1 respectively. JP now has the fuel, allegedly. Still looks ridiculously low. A 3-second penalty to serve in 2 turns time. A little spin there. Or a little slide, I should say, not spin. Crackervelli's in P5. Will have the fuel to get himself to the end. If he keeps himself clean, he could potentially catch up to JP and get P4. That'd be a great result for the Team Ferrari, who have not had many great results this season so far. TGR in P6 with plenty of fuel. Damon in P7 with slightly less fuel, but a 3-second penalty. So I don't think he's going to get past TGR. Lord Hands in P8. I don't think he has a chance to catch. Inorganic in P9. No issues with those 2 drivers right now. Fudo in P10. HK in P11. Ollie's finished. I'm going to jump back. Sorry, Ollie. So much is happening. There's too much for one man to commentate. Ollie takes yet another win. Surely is the champion now. Beckers is in P2. Will be finishing. That is a driver off again. Beckers in P2. Will be finishing in P2. Good drive from both Subaru drivers once again. Ian in P3 rounding the penultimate corner now with just enough fuel to get him over the line. JP in P4. Can he hold it? Can he retain P4? Serve the 3-second penalty and is still ahead. Good work from JP as he rounds the penultimate corner. And now the final left-hander. Does he keep himself? Oh, a little slide. But he's alive. JP finishing P4. Crackervelli will be finishing in P5 then. That is TGR in P6. Damon losing the position. Oh no, he lost the position at the exit of the pits, didn't he? So that's unfortunate. The 3-second penalty has hindered him and lost the position to Lord Hans, though. We're going to jump back on with TGR, who unfortunately, after a P1 start, I say unfortunately, he's still a pretty decent job. TGR finishing in P6, Damon finishing in P7. That is the Lord Hans finishing in P8. Inorganic then lost a little bit of time there to Lord Hans on that final lap. So unfortunate for the Citroen driving will be finishing down in P9. And that means Fudo, the first of the Audi drivers, will be finishing in P10 if he keeps himself safe. So in the battle of the Alphas versus the Audis, we've had one Alpha finish, now one Audi finish in P10. That is an Alpha in P11 and an Audi in P12. Great work from those two drivers, but the Alphas will be taking more points home after that feature race. Ellis, is he also he's doing a world's best backwards driver? Fair enough, Ellis. He's jumped on the bandwagon as Ellis finishes in reverse with P13, Airtown Jenna P14, Banana P15, and Falcon P16. What a race towards the end there. So much fuel issues, so much happening. Ollie, though, finishing in P1 with 46 minutes, 48 seconds of track time. Becker's his teammate in P2. Jan in P3. JP Greenwood P4. Crackavelli P5. TGR finishing P6. Crilly74 finishing P7 with the fastest lap point. Alfa Romeo's doing a great job in the battle against the Audis. Lord Hans finishing P8. Inorganic finishing P9. I think that's the highest positions, the highest points haul for Ferrari so far this season. I'm sure we'll check in a second when we go to the standings. Great work from them, though. Fudo, I think I did mention. I think that's where I started up. Finished on P10. Mikey Sands finishing in P11. I2 Point Harshot finishing in P12. Ellis finishing in P13. And unfortunately for John Oradea, Autismus, and Falcon, who have been lapped once, and 3 times, respectively, down there in the final 3 positions. Let's go to the standings then, shall we? If my stream deck will work. I love how slow this thing is. There we are. And we can confirm, with one race weekend remaining, Ollie and Team WRX have both won the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. Congrats to both of those drivers. Ollie with 256 points, 77 ahead with 1 round ahead. And Team WRX, 422 points. I can't do maths, but that's just under 200 points away. What an insane performance from both team and from both drivers in the WRX team, picking up both titles with a round remaining. Damon, then, let's look at the drivers first of all. Let's see if we have any battles for the rest of the podium. As Damon and Beckers both holding P2 and P3 respectively, 13 points between those two. And Fudo, though, in P4, only 14 points behind Beckers, potentially could have a great result tonight in Abu Dhabi, get himself into that podium position for the final round. Ian, though, another very fast driver, missed 2 rounds and has put himself into P5. Only 16 points off Ian. That puts him 30 off third. Pretty good going from him. Gum, Inorganic, the Birds, Super Cracker, and I2 Point rounding out your top 10. And then you can see, yeah, that's the rest of everyone else. And then for the teams, Alfa Romeo just getting themselves in front of Audi by 15 points after that race today. The gap was 2 points before today. It's now up to 15 with 1 round, 2 races, 1 qualifying, and 2 fastest lap points left up for grabs. We'll see who claims P2 in the championship between those two. Lexus then trailing in P4. I don't think... Did we see Lexuses today? Sorry, hang on. On a side note. No, we didn't see Gum or the Birds. No Lexus representation today. So they could have been up in that battle as well. It's unfortunate to see for them, but well. Citroen in P5, Honda NSX in P6, the Ferrari 296 in P7. And I do want to have a look. For Crackavelli, other than Italy, yes, best performance. And for Lord Hans, by far best performance. Actually, no. Basically same as Nürburgring. Better sprint result, though. So, pretty good for the Ferrari team this week. Porsche 911 in P8. Ford Mustang in P9. I believe I may be wrong. Hang on. Where is he? JP Greenwood has only raced 2 races and the only driver in the Ford Mustang put himself into 13th in the drivers and has put his team on his own into P9. That's pretty good going, can't lie. Mercedes-AMG in P10. Unfortunately, no longer have Giles Dotter, but I forgot his name. Where is he? I'm trying to look up and down the list. Autismus? Autismus? Is it Autismus? I don't know. I'm probably being stupid. Where is Mercedes-AMG? Oh, it's literally right next to Giles. I'm really stupid. Yeah, Autismus, the only driver remaining in that team now, puts their team into P10, Peugeot RCZ in P11 after only a couple races. So that's pretty good work, considering how close they are to P10. The GR Super in P12, and we're still yet to see the BMW M6. And I don't think we are going to see it by the end of tonight. Anyway, that has been the penultimate round of the Tier 6 campaign in ALR Season 21. Thanks, guys, for watching. And I'll see you sometime this week for the Abu Dhabi round. Good luck, all drivers, tonight. Yeah. See you for the next race.